Hello, hello, and welcome to Break the Clutter Cycle, a candid conversation about why the clutter keeps coming back no matter how much you organize, clean, and tidy. This is a limited podcast series that is focused on breaking the clutter cycle so you can be in your clutter free era and have the most vibrant, spacious decade of your life. My name is Nicole from the Maximizing Mama. I am a decluttering coach with 4 kids and a part time bartender who's on a mission to help women trade in the clutter and the chaos for peace of mind and sanity so you can have the freedom to fill your cup and pour into the people you love. I have a regular podcast called the Take Charge of Your Home show it's more general in terms of home improvement, including organizing, decluttering, tidying, and cleaning tips. But you're here on this podcast because you know that there is more to life than being wrapped up in material items and consumerism. You have spent your entire life learning how to consume. And to put it simply, you've always wanted more stuff. But now you recognize that all that clutter has done nothing but weigh you down. It's keeping you up at night. It's stressing you out to the point to where you can't even get through a single day without wishing that you could just start over from scratch. You know that you have too much clutter and you have tried more methods than you care to admit, like the Marie Kondo method, Fly Lady, Clutterbug, the Home Edit. You've tried them all, but it seems like the clutter always comes back. No matter what you do, your house is cluttered again and again within a few weeks, and you're sick of it. So now you've been kind of teetering on the edge of minimalism because you're at your wit's end and you don't know what else to do. Well, what's happening here is what I call the clutter cycle. It's a repetitive pattern of organizing, cleaning, and decluttering, only to have the clutter and the mess return again and again. The clutter cycle is driven by quick fixes that don't even scratch the surface of the deeper issues like emotional attachment, lifestyle habits, or the wrong systems. And what almost always happens is it leaves women feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and at their wits' end. The best way to describe the clutter cycle is a series of habits that keeps you stuck with the clutter always coming back again and again. And we're going to be diving into every phase of the cycle throughout this limited podcast series. But if you want to break out of this clutter cycle, it will require you to shift your mindset, improve your routines, and change the way that you've been dealing with the 6 main types of clutter, which we're going to get into at a later time. This podcast series is meant to help you understand what the clutter cycle is so you can finally break free from it and have true freedom from clutter. Now, there's a lot to explore, and we're going to break down the entire cycle with a different episode for each phase of the cycle. But if there's only one thing that I could teach you, it would be this: that mental, emotional, physical, and digital clutter all contribute to this cycle. So let's dive into what those are. Mental clutter is the thoughts, the worries, the never ending to do lists, and the mental overwhelm. And since we know that thoughts produce our feelings, that means that the mental clutter can cause emotional clutter, which could be overwhelm, procrastination, stress, or any kind of emotion that you might feel, which then makes it hard to even think about decluttering or organizing your home. So if you have all this mental clutter weighing down your mind and you have all these emotions that are bogging down your heart, that leads to the physical clutter piling up, which just further perpetuates the cycle. Now, the digital clutter could be overloaded inboxes, endless files, unused apps, or scattered digital tools. It creates a distraction and it drains your mental energy. And it can cause you to feel out of control and disorganized, which makes it harder to tackle the physical clutter. So, for example, if you're looking for important documents or you're trying to find some photos, what ends up happening? you just feel overwhelmed, which then it's even harder to tackle the physical clutter. So, this distraction of the digital clutter prevents you from addressing the other clutter, like the physical, the emotional, or the mental, and that keeps you in a reactive state rather than being proactive and moving toward an organized life. Now, the physical clutter, we know what this is, but I like to break it down even further because it's not just the stuff in your home. The physical clutter could be visible messes like items that need to be put away. It could be homeless items that don't have a home, or it could be excess belongings like the true accumulated clutter that's piling up. So, this physical clutter can physically overwhelm your senses, which then adds to the stress and the mental clutter, which then makes it hard to focus. And when your house feels chaotic, it just reinforces the mental clutter, and that can lead to emotional clutter. Again, these negative emotions that are weighing on your heart, like shame or frustration or embarrassment. And then that could lead to rage cleaning, which doesn't really address the root cause. It doesn't really help you actually tackle any of this physical clutter. It's just a quick fix. So, this physical clutter just leads to confusion over what to do with all the different types of physical clutter. And then the mess returns, which just feeds the frustration, the guilt, and sometimes a feeling of failure, and that then restarts the clutter cycle. And here's the thing, all of these work together. The mental clutter keeps you from having the mental clarity to tackle the digital and the physical clutter. The digital clutter distracts you and takes your time and energy away from managing your physical space. And your physical clutter contributes to the mental clutter by making your home feel chaotic and overwhelming. And together they create this cycle of frustration where you end up trying everything under the sun to get the clutter in order. But when not all of the clutter is fully addressed, it just causes the cycle to repeat over and over again. It starts with overwhelm, from not knowing where to start, where you have paralysis mindset because the clutter is causing you to be literally inundated with decisions to where you can't take action at all. And then after so long, the emotional clutter weighs on you. These heavy emotions get you finally doing something, so you decide to get organized as a quick fix. But then the clutter creeps back out again because there's still too much hidden clutter piled away behind closed doors. So now you're stressed to the max because there's messes taking over your flat surfaces and clutter piling up, and you're kind of pissed. So you start rage cleaning and throwing a bunch of stuff out because you can't stand it for one more second. But what always happens is the clutter creeps out all over again. Only now you start to think that it must be your fault, that maybe you're just a naturally messy person and that you will be living this way forever. So by this point, the guilt starts to take over, and that leads you right back to where you started, not knowing where to start, stuck in this paralysis, overwhelmed mindset. It's an endless cycle that you've been stuck in for maybe years, like you're on this never-ending clutter hamster wheel. So, we're going to have a candid and honest conversation about how you can finally break this clutter cycle for good, so that way you can have long-term clutter freedom. Here's how. You'll have freedom from the constant cleanup because once the clutter cycle is broken, you won't be stuck in a constant loop of tidying up and organizing only for the mess to keep coming back. Instead, your home will stay manageable, freeing you from that exhausting cleanup routine. You'll also have clear mental space and reduced stress because when you address the mental, digital, and the physical clutter, you will free up mental energy and you'll feel more in control of your life and your home. You will have systems and habits for lasting change because true clutter freedom comes when you're able to develop sustainable habits and systems that help you prevent the clutter from accumulating all over again, which then will give you a more organized, functional home for the long term. And you will have emotional freedom from the guilt and the overwhelm. So, what this means is that breaking the clutter cycle will release you from the emotional weight of the guilt, the frustration, and the overwhelm that the clutter has been creating and weighing on you for years. Instead, you'll feel lighter and more empowered to make decisions without the weight of all that stuff in the back of your mind and just dragging on you. You'll also learn how to involve your family in maintaining a clutter-free home. So that way you can have an environment where everyone contributes and the burden of clutter doesn't fall only on you. You will have more time and energy for what matters. Because before now, you've been spending your time on managing your stuff. But when you're able to break the clutter cycle and have a clutter-free home and be in your clutter-free era, you can use all that time and energy to focus on your family, on pouring into your own needs and prioritizing your self-care and enjoying your hobbies and doing things that bring you joy and visiting fun places around town and making memories with your kids. You will have time to do your work in this world and live your life in the way that matters to you. And best of all, you'll have long-term peace of mind and a lasting clutter-free legacy that you can pass down to future generations. You can pass down the mindset and the habits to your children and their children so that way they can avoid these same struggles that you've been dealing with for years. Breaking the clutter cycle is not just about getting a tidy home. It's about a full inner and outer transformation that will lead to a clutter-free lifestyle and true freedom from clutter so you can break those generational habits once and for all. Now, in the next episode, we're going to dive into the very first phase of the clutter cycle, which is the overwhelmed paralysis mindset. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing the new method that has been giving my one-on-one clients a map to true clutter freedom. It's kind of like a GPS that has guided them out of the overwhelm. So if that sounds good to you, then I would love for you to implement the changes that I will be sharing in our upcoming masterclass, The Roadmap to a Clutter-Free Life. Ultimately, my mission is for you not just to clear the clutter, but to be in your clutter-free era and pass down a clutter-free legacy. It's all going to be happening live in November, and I will be sharing a link for you to save your seat soon, so make sure to stay tuned. In the meantime, I would love for you to subscribe and to leave a review of this brand new podcast series. Whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, leave a review and a rating so that way this podcast can be pushed out to other people who need to hear how to break the clutter cycle. Clutter is something that millions of women in particular are struggling with, and I want this to get to as many listeners as possible because what we're going to be diving into over the next couple of weeks is truly going to be life-changing if you have struggled with clutter for any amount of time. Okay, my friend, that's all for today. I will see you soon for our next episode. But if you have any questions, send me a DM on Instagram. I love hearing from you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.